You want to email them?
I got it. I grabbed it. Alrighty.
Sounds really good. That's fantastic.
I'm calculating. It is now officially 6 p.m. and dark outside. Must be regular time. Savings. Hey, was the meeting properly noticed, guys?
Yes.
And look at us, we have a quorum. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance when we get rolling. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now let's call our CROA meeting, the official meetings to order and begin with the always fun-filled owner's comments. Mark Falcone, you're up, sir.
Good evening, Mark Falcone over in Spring Lake. Simple request, but it's been one that's been asked for since I've been here for 2.5 years now. Unfortunately, where I live, we have a bar. And we have a lot of people that don't even live here. Might be within 10, 15 miles away, but they love to come use our barbecue pit. Parties till 10, 11 o'clock at night, especially on the weekends. And we'll call the appropriate number for the people, security, whoever's running things. But they don't seem to come out that often to get rid of the people or even respond to my call saying, yes, we're going to get someone out there or not. So moving forward, I was wondering if you guys could put together an action plan on how to resolve these issues moving forward, where if there is a call for someone that's violating the rules or farting excessive music, etc., that we can have someone come out there and tell the people they must leave, but also that the owner who made the call, Donald's the call, but yes, we got your call, and go on out there. I know the weekends, then there's usually 1 or 2 people to cover 2 or 3, 4 parts or whatever. Food for, I don't know if it's going to be wise or hire another person or so, but it would be something nice to get fixed.
Thank you. Next, Mike Jackson. Hiding over there. I can't see him.
Good evening. How's everybody?
Hi.
3 things. First, one kind of entertaining. I got the board book and I looked at it, 315 pages. That's not a record, but it's getting close again. I would suggest that some group gets together, looks at that board book, figures out how to summarize it, put it into an executive format, or some way to condense it so you can look at the most important information. It hit me as I was scrolling through it earlier today, but I was looking at toilets. Schematics of toilets and sinks, things like that. I don't think you need to micromanage that. I really don't. I think someone can be trusted or should be trusted to put together a bathroom plan and come up with 3 quotes. And inside that quote is all this detail that you will have to look at. So I would suggest that becomes a project because I think you're spending a lot of time on other things. Second, the resale fee vote. I told you at the previous board meeting it was going to be a struggle. Struggle by 11 votes. Very, very close. Surprising. I don't understand why people couldn't understand it. I don't understand why it was not impacting people in the community. I think it passed for one reason. One reason only, probably very close. I think because of Katie. I think Katie did a great job of being on social media, trying to knock down misinformation, misrepresentations, everything that happened there. And she came to me, she came to Andrew, she came to Jim Knoll and asked for input, said, how can I answer some of these questions? What kind of ideas do you have? We fed her stuff. And if Katie wouldn't have been representing us on social media, we would have lost. We would have absolutely lost it. Thank you. Just note that we debated. Last thing, you got the note I sent about the scenario for rebuilding the building. So you've got that information. I think it is time to really step up and take a more intensive look now that we've got that passed and see how the numbers work. We have the capacity. We're happy to answer any questions. It's pretty straightforward. I know we're going to hear from Blake tonight about the rebuild option, but the real key is we have a very disciplined, diligent, comprehensive process to decide what we're doing. This is probably, as I said in my note, the biggest decision the CROA board will make in our history. So it's one that's real important. I'll help in any way possible. So the finance committee, we talked about it. Andrew heard it last night. I think we've got some good options here. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
And last, but certainly not least, Mark Mature.
Didn't necessarily want to speak separate update on 851. What I will say about that is I did have a good meeting with the architects. The process we're doing is the right way to do it. So the design team is looking at it. They've studied it, agreed that it's worth saving. Process in place to do true design drawings, fully inclusive of getting the core and shell going on it. The MVP systems, getting that designed, give that a real price for that, get that going as fast as possible. We're working on what the inside can look like, and for our workshop, I think it's the 600 workshop.
That's this with Click.
Yeah.
That turned into them coming to this meeting and inviting the master plan to this.
Anyway, with that, we should have some of the things that we talked about. So we can present what the ideas are for redoing the inside building that should be affordable within the lower, as you can say, you might have seen in that. It really was a rough order of magnitude pricing. So it should be on the lower end of that, keeping it simple on the interior, but still making nice spaces on the room side, the offices, but keeping it simple. So I think there is ways to save the building, have it good for another 25 years. It's something that still costs less than half of trying to build a new building the same size. So I think that's that. I can update more once we talk about it further.
Great, thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
Anybody else for public comments that's not on the list? Just moving along. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting and the workshop?
I guess motion to,
Pardon me?
Adopt the agenda.
Didn't I say that? Oh, I missed adopt the agenda. Sorry. Motion to adopt the agenda.
additions.
You have just additions?
Motion to
Okay.
approve additions.
Second. Additions.
Just a discussion item, performance metrics. Okay. Talk about it at that point.
As F.
I'd like to see if we could move E and F to consent agenda. E and F action to consent.
E and F action. That's resolution design guidelines. Yeah, there's no reason why those. Anybody have a problem with that? Nope. I like it. Let's make them L and M. All right. Anybody else? All those in favor of adopting the agenda? Aye. How about the minutes now? Motion?
Motion to approve.
Both.
Additions or revisions.
I saw that.
Yeah, the only change was to the approval of the contract, that it should include also the 10,440 monthly management fee with 9 performance metrics of $1,000 deduction from the monthly management fee if not met, and contract term revisions recommended by the monthly task force. So I can shoot that over to you in an email. Just have that added to that one bullet point that we'll discuss.
From the workshop.
Yes.
Anybody else have any changes need to be made? All those in favor of the amended minute approval?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Financials.
I guess Jim's not here.
Sorry, that is,
So am I taking that or did you?
I have that.
Okay.
So our account balances on our operating fund as of the start of this month, we have $2,232,587 in operating. Our replacement fund is $1,719,079, and our capital fund is sitting at $4,121,000 $1,289.
Great.
So yeah, just a little commentary on the capital 4.1. There's still one more payment of about 200,000 that needs to go off the top line. So it's about like 3.9, we're going to stand after that goes up the board. Just looking over at the month, so there was a surplus of about 21,000, and that was really driven by two things. There was high covenants fees again, which was about 20,000, and then it seemed that the hurricane kind of pulled our expenses down from not as much usage from private events and just the management company. So expenses were down on that side too. So, and that's all including the election cost that was in as well. So positive in that side. Overall, just looking at the year to date through 10 months, our expenses are over 200,000, but our revenues are over by 175,000. So it is something that I know we've taken a lot of work on this year to fix up and do things, and some stuff wasn't budgeted prior year, so that's understood. But I think through 10 months, if you told me where we would be today, where we were 2 or 3 months ago, right, that's it. I'd be shocked for where we're at. So I consider us pretty fortunate these past few months where there's been some income that was collected to offset the expenses that have gone. So
Anybody have any questions for Andrew or?
I have a question for management on just why the chemicals were high for East Village and Island Village after we had the Eco Lab. Like, what was, if you don't know, that's fine, but if you could see if there's a reason behind it, because I thought that we weren't going to be having these pool chemical overages once we contracted with Eco Labs.
So the pool chemical amount per month is based on last year's numbers and projected out through this year. We've been running high on chemicals this year, and the Ecolabs contract is even higher than that original amount. So you're going to see it consistently high for the remainder of this year. It should be properly budgeted next year, but I do want to drill into the East Village one and Island Village to see specifically if there's anything else driving that number.
Yeah, because they were kind of like segmented out, then I was just.
Yeah, we'll drill into those to make sure.
Any other questions? How about on to committee updates?
Yeah, jump through, just jumping over to the finance committee. Mike kind of said some of the comments tonight, but overall with A51, looking at, I think their view, when I was asking if there's any recommendation they can provide them, and their basis was more, just more information is needed. It seems the repair path is going down and continuing forward. There hasn't been really any discussion or review of what a rebuild looks like and what that may cost, and trying to understand what is appropriate. And looking at the master plan advisory group's recommendation, they had some building here for Heritage Hall, they had some buildings out in Lakeside. So is there a holistic view that needs to be done to ensure, yeah, it's great that right now looks that building salvageable for a certain cost, but does that cost and building serve our community appropriately, or is it something that, well, we have to build something anyways? So I think that's the conversation on the finance. And then the only other committee to mention would be in looking at the reserve study, they dug into that a little bit deeper, and they saw some things that maybe necessarily, not that they're not appropriate, but seem like a little bit much forward for certain expenses. So we're continuing to look through the reserve study and see what may be appropriate, what might not be, and then taking into account what A51 is going to cost as well. So that's pretty what updates I have for that.
Good. Anybody else? Committee update?
So recreation, we met yesterday. There is one thing. It's not at our level yet, but it may be. When we improved the sliding scale, so as you recall, I think in April or May, that was the work that the park board did around kind of looking at the partner programs and all the different groups, kind of building equity with definitions and what have you. It's become apparent that there's maybe some noise in the community around the number of declines that the group is issuing. So they just wanted to potentially come back to the board and get us to maybe look at that again. Potentially building out an exception process. It doesn't have legs or anything right now, but just something we're kind of watching, just because they are getting some feedback from the community around it.
Didn't find on what?
Fee waivers.
Okay.
Yeah. So what they've done is remarkable. They've been consistent in denying everything, honestly. I mean, Lauren, I don't know, and Jacob, I mean, I know Nikki's pretty much been diligent about that too, but it seems like pretty much just kind of consistently say no.
The Parks and Rec Committee is following very stringently to the document that was received.
Yeah.
That document that receives does differ from the exceptions that have been happening year after year in the past, especially for non-for-profit groups that have always been seeing some waivers being approved, that now on this kind of blanket approach are receiving denials for all of them, saying you can have the 20% discount that is written into the policy. That does have a bit of it is taken harshly in those meetings by community members.
And sometimes the pendulum can swing too far in the opposite direction. And we want to make sure that we're getting the feedback from the community and we're evolving the process. So no action right now, but that was a specific topic that came up.
Is there currently any structure on what would be a fee waiver?
Right now, it's just,
That's what I'll push back to the committee of what their understanding of what should and shouldn't be a fee waiver, and then come back to us and you can.
Exactly.
discuss.
yeah, so that's kind of indicating that. So more to follow. Covenants is, honestly, I haven't been to the covenants meeting. They're kind of on autopilot. Communications is doing great. Her name is escaping me. Belinda, yes, she's been a great addition. With communicating, but it seems like the Monday Matters Friday Flash, their content's pretty good. So that's all.
Okay, anybody else?
From ARC, just, I want to take a moment. The ARC committee, as you know, had a tremendous backlog over the past year to work down. As of Monday evening, ARC only had 8 open applications, five of which were going to be discussed at the meeting on Monday, which we did have and we discussed.
Yeah.
So that's a huge
You're
kudos.
down to now 3.
So things still come in all the time.
Yeah.
But we were
300.
we're in the double digits now, which is just kind of spectacular. The committee's been really diligent on this. It's a lot of time on a weekly basis to review a lot of the applications. I do think that we will, as a board, need to consider in the next year or so if there needs to be a revision to the makeup of ARC, just with the size of the community and a lot of the complexity of the things that are coming in now. So it's just something that we're seeing.
And it's now how many? 5?
There's seven members.
So you think maybe in the future more?
Wait, there's 7?
I'm sorry, there's 5 members of the committee. There's question on whether or not it should move to 7. There's some more discussion on whether or not we should be splitting out the committee to manage different things. So I think it's something that we should talk about in the future. Right now, it's working well. The committee is excited for the move to Smart Web, which is coming shortly. And then is thankful for the board's support of Malin as well, and our financial support for him, because a lot of these things that are coming in now are complicated. That especially as we get into more structural modifications.
Can we make sure we have that as a discussion item for a workshop before, about the committee size and that before next year? Because otherwise we're going to get into needing to appoint the committee and we haven't done that.
You're
stuff.
also gonna have to.
It would be a charter change.
So
Yeah.
technically, we could put it on
On the ballot. for
the
election.
ballot,
In the board election.
yeah, if we
To
could.
save another election.
Yes.
Yeah, should we add
Yeah,
that
that's a
as a
great
main
idea.
discussion item?
We should probably put it in
In December, yeah.
Yeah,
No, I think that's a good idea, because we do want to keep this trend going.
Yeah.
And wow, committee kudos.
Do you ever do a charter to remove that altogether so that we get flexibility? Because if we say down the road, we want to add 9, are we always going to have to do that through a charter review?
You can adjust, you can make the language in the charter so you have some more flexibility. Yes, we would just have to have Charlie, massage the verbiage.
Any other committee reports?
Yeah, technology. So John had his first full month on the job and had a number of recommendations. So had first impressions he shared with the committee that was discussed. I guess one thing marginally that popped up was the non-use of town hall emails and use of private emails, and how really everyone should be using town hall for the committees and everything of that nature. So something that I think that should be brought to light of trying to push everyone to town hall email only and not personal on all those committees. The focus still remains on Gallagher and getting that system complete. So the hardware is pretty much all done, just working through some software on the back end and potentially some additional licensing that may be needed to look into. So I'm trying to push that committee that we can go live in December for community. But that's my personal goal, not that committee's goal. So we'll see. There's going to be more discussion over the next couple of weeks on a punch list to finalize that and hopefully get that pushed through before the end of the year. And then just an update on EV chargers. The majority of those are up and running. There's a maintenance issue still on the One Lakeside, but for the most part, all that has been resolved.
The Gallagher system, is it a vendor we're waiting on, or is it our management team waiting
More of a vendor is
on? Okay.
there's, I guess, the one bottleneck they're having is, and correct me if this is incorrect, but there's 2 or 3 licenses currently. And if people are using them, you got to boot the other person off. So if someone is trying to get a Jones Room and Town Hall and Artisan Park, then someone is going to lose access. So
It's that, and we've been working with the vendor to schedule them to come in and do a punch list and do some training, some kind of super user training for Town Hall and for the Artisan Park management team, and to address some of the issues that we've been having. And there's been some tripping points in the scheduling for when things should open and shouldn't. So we need them to just kind of walk through that. So
to your question, I would say it's more vendor related on that.
A lot of tweaking.
Dog Park Committee had a member resign. And so we thank her for her help, and it was just scheduling. So I haven't had a chance to talk to committee about it, but I think that they'll maintain how they are for the rest of the term. And Master Planning Committee has been very active on the splash pad and the 851, more of which we'll get into.
Nothing, no updates from Edison, but from the lifestyles events committee. Although I'll just say I had my first meeting and I'm very impressed with the thorough job that they do with all of their planning and going over, past events to see what can be fixed, and even like with the future events, all the thoroughness that goes into all the decisions that are made. And just a couple future events that are coming up are the Holiday Fest on December 6th at 5:30 at Lakeside, the Holiday Concert Thursday, December 19th from 7 to 9. Tickets are on sale, so you can get those now. It's going to be Christmas with the Celts, and it will be located at over by the field, CCFC Fields. And January will be Pumps and Pints, also at Lakeside at 10 o'clock. Love is in the Air at Lakeside Concert on February 20th. And then the father-daughter dance is scheduled for February 21st.
Anybody else? CDD had they've got their new board, and the new chairman is now Tom Tuesday. Craig is no longer chair. And foundation.
Evening. My name is Kathleen Scipio. I'm the executive director of the foundation, and I don't know if you're feeling the same way, but I cannot believe it's November. November started for the foundation and the community with our traditional Memorial Garden Remembrance Ceremony. This is where we've gotten it right, between the CROA Foundation, CCED, and the Garden Club celebration. It is, quite frankly, my favorite Saturday in our community. We had 85 attendees this year. We always have instrumental music, but then we ask anyone if they'd like to come up and speak about their loved one. Typically lasts between 10 and 11. We were still there with folks at the microphone until 11:45, sharing stories that brought laughter and the need for some Kleenex. But every first Saturday in November. So I want to thank CROA for everything they did for that event. Celebration Lifelong is wrapping up their fall term. They had 24 courses up at Island Village Clubhouse with volunteer instructors, 102 members, and 25 of them were absolutely new. We got a few that just went to the gym, walked by and came in and saw what the program was about. Tomorrow night will be at Island Village Clubhouse for the CROA resident community tree decorating event. The foundation will have milk and cookies, chocolate milk and regular. And we'll be decorating some ornaments together from 6 to 8. And then we are on to the happiest holiday week of the year. It's the first week in December. We have the first Wednesday night concert that the foundation has done in my history. Gave me a lot of sleepless nights, but Octave delivered. We are officially sold out. So if you want to hear them at Community Presbyterian Church on December 4th, you got to come and volunteer. Starbucks may have their famous red cup. We have the famous foundation red T-shirt, which you get for volunteering. And that leads us right into Sparkle Soiree on Friday at Artisan Clubhouse, followed by the Holiday Hem Tour and Magical Marketplace on Saturday and Sunday. This is a great opportunity for the community to shine. And that is why our hashtag this year is Sparkle. And then lastly, the foundation always supports with a share of the NEB event, the resident NEB event, which is on Monday, December 16th. So we are in full swing with the holidays. And I just want to take the time before it all begins to thank each and every one of you for the hidden hours and the not so hidden hours that you've given to make our community a special place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything on committees? Otherwise, we move on to the luminous consent agenda that runs from A now to M.
I make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Without discussion? Oh, and we need a second.
Second.
Second, without discussion?
Now we discuss.
Well, I'll say it's consent agenda. We don't discuss.
Right.
Okay, good. All those in favor? Aye. Whoa. Now we get to go to action items, of which there aren't as many.
Make the motion to approve the park landscaping revamp by Exquisite Lawn Care for minor repairs of Gathering Green, Beach Ridge Views, Island Village, Wedge, Tapestry East, Mosaic East, Newton's Park, Oak Pond Park, Tohi Park, North Village Playground Sand, Ashby Park, East Park Crescent in the amount of $4,984.56. This is a CROA reserve fund expense.
You wanted that because there were so many words in it.
Yeah.
You did.
Second. You can second.
There you go.
Discussion?
The question that I had on North Village Playground Sand, is the cover still good there, or do we need a new cover for the sand?
The shade structure?
No, the sandbox cover. I have a history with sandboxes in this community. So is the cover for the sandbox in North Village still applicable there, or do we need to get a new one?
Need a new one.
Okay, so is that under,
That's just an operations expenditure.
okay, all right. Because I would say if we're gonna put new sand in there, we should get a new cover at the same time.
And then at the same time.
Okay.
So the discussion on this one would be, can we approve it through operating withhold on reserve? Send this to the finance committee to see if it should be reserved, because these are all like $500 stuff, and things of that nature. So I don't necessarily see, I'm not sure whether this should truly be reserved. So
So
I'm
this-
fine with doing it as operating to get it done and approved. But then in the next month,
But why not do it from reserve?
If it's been budgeted.
again, that's what I want to have a discussion with finance.
Okay, how about,
So this was already approved through operating and Exquisite's already working on all of these parks. This was for discussion if the board want to put it to reserves
If we
or
wanted to move it from operating.
oh, if we wanted to move it from operating to reserve. So this is already approved. So this could become basically, can become a moot point if we want to continue to your point.
Right.
These items
It's
all,
already approved with operating, let that.
It's already approved with operating.
yeah, these items all follow in same scope of the park projects that have been approved in the prior months and the ones that are on the agenda and the action item tonight. These were all.
So these have all been approved. We're just talking about moving them to
Yes.
reserve.
In a typical fashion, small items, and some of these is, the $100 and $200 do come out of operating. However, we had a large amount of these all at once that happen that get us to a larger amount, is why it was considered for a reserve fund item.
But if it's already funded and reserved, I guess I'm not understanding.
No, it's already approved under operating,
But why, I knew we talked about it, but I guess.
just moving it to a different item.
Why, since we're already kind of running a little bit close on operating to begin with. This would be,
Oh, you're saying why not go ahead and move it to reserve?
why don't we move it back to reserve? I guess that's what I'm, what's the advantage of putting it?
Yeah, Andrew.
I just, I guess with the small dollar amounts of like $100 for a tree, this or that, that seems more of just an operating expense, not a true reserve of this is coming up due for replacement.
How does that mess up the replacement reserve? Does it? Is that all just, I guess,
It's so your park, your landscaping revamps is just one lump sum for all of your parks.
And that's a reserve expense.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, you're fine tabling it until we get finance.
Well, let's find out.
So if we were to take, if I were to, rescind.
Well, we wouldn't table it because the work's being done.
Work's
It's
being
either
done.
we approve moving it to reserves or just let it go as operating.
Right,
So we can vote this down, but the project will still go forward, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
As an operating expense.
As an operating expense.
So I'll put a motion to deny it based on.
Okay, well, let's just vote in favor or not.
You've got a motion on the table to.
Yeah, we've got a motion to approve and a second.
this is from reserve, right?
This to move all of these to reserve.
I still hold my second. Yeah, I still think we should do that.
Okay, you think we should move it to reserve?
Yes.
So all those in favor of moving this to reserve? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, we're moving it to reserve. B, motion to approve Long Meadow Park, the big job, 98,722 to Exquisite Lawn Care from reserves.
Are these next two the same?
No, these are,
These
These
are
are new projects.
are new projects.
Okay, I will motion to approve.
second
I'll second.
discussion.
The tree that's being removed, is it going somewhere else or are we just cutting it down?
That is to be removed. Was, in claim a weed tree, it wasn't part of an original plan. It can start to affect the playground by the location of it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a weed tree, just one that grew up from a seed.
So it's a free tree.
It's a free
That's the only
tree.
way that I look at it, so.
So Brian, what are you gonna do with the tree? You're just gonna cut it down?
Mulch.
If we get enough trees, we have to buy mulch anymore.
See? Up in circle.
Where is this tree?
There's a couple of trees at Long Meadow. One of them is directly hanging over the play equipment.
Yeah.
And potentially poses a risk, and I'm sure when Diane gets in there, she's gonna tell you how to go anyway. One tree has already been removed, because it was dead and we were worried it was gonna fall, right near the playground.
Can we be careful of affecting the canopy? Because if,
Yeah, so there's a magnolia that we're gonna remove, and
It's by the arbor.
if you come into Long Meadow Park, you go past the playground. The pergola's right here, there's a magnolia right here, and it's green clear, it looks great. And then there's a magnolia right here, and you can't even see the canopy because it is intertwined with the oak tree canopy. So to make the oak tree healthier, we're going to magnolia.
okay,
We're not detracting or removing from the existing canopy that's in there.
This is the arborist, who that you worked with, that gave the recommendation.
Correct. We've been through there, identified all of these trees, agreed upon those. Aside from that, they're totally off subject. There are two oak trees in the parking lot of the CCFC complex that I feel can be transplanted. And these are very mature trees. So I'm gonna talk about the arborist to see how feasible this is. But one of these is a very sizable oak tree that we could put in an area where we do have an opening. Another one is a mature oak tree, but half the size of that one, a lot more easy to transplant. So we're not just looking at removing trees from certain parks, we're also looking what we can bring in place. We want to make the canopy healthy and long lasting. And right now it's not all of it. In areas, it's too congested. And one of the key factors we need for plant health is airflow.
Any other questions?
I will also note that this quote, as you see, is much lower than the quote discussed in our last workshop because we have removed all of the plant installation around the playground as the playground is going to be. So there probably will be another proposal coming after the playground is complete to do the landscaping around the playground.
This solves everything except.
Correct.
Sod also,
This, yeah,
Yeah, it has, it's all facade.
so the sod around the playground.
It's not around the playground we weren't gonna do yet, were we?
correct.
Right.
That's not. And most of that's intended to go back as ground cover because of how high shade that is.
Yes, great. Okay.
All right, all those in favor? Opposed? On to C, motion to approve Heritage Hall, this stuff out here. Plant sod and mulch installation, $80,119 to Exquisite from reserves. And people will be very happy once we do this. Motion,
Motion.
second?
I'll second.
Somebody needs a second.
So
Discussion?
St. Augustine, can we just refresh why we're doing St. Augustine? I thought we were talking about Bermuda again, but I know there was a discussion around.
If it's not a play park.
Well,
and
I know, but it is.
well, but the Bermuda, as Brian had told us, was a bigger maintenance issue going forward. Plus, this ground would need to be completely pulled up, the soil redone to grow Bermuda properly at an additional expense. Because this place is, it's killing Bermuda because of its drainage issues.
So what's to stop it from killing St. Augustine?
St. Augustine, you can't kill St. Augustine.
You can't kill some.
I don't know,
I mean, salt water. People, you forgot to make the exception.
I
Most people can't kill St. Augustine.
think that
Mine is 26 years old.
the question that I have, Brian, for the installation of the sod, are we regrading anything out there? Or is it mainly just taking the existing stuff off and plowing? What I'm getting at is, do we have a larger issue with drainage that I can see out there right now? The way that it's running off.
They did, the X-ray study, and they found no issue with the drainage.
That spot that is the low spot that is visible from the road, if you walk to that, that is like a manhole cover that has not sunk or anything. So where that currently sits has always sat. It is not like it has in recent years sunk.
So my concern more is actually the southeast, I don't know, the corner closest to the street
Over there.
over there.
So we're gonna come in and strip it all off the side, right? And then we're gonna come in and bring the new grass in right on top. But in between those two steps, if we see that there's a 4-inch lip
That's what
on
I'm,
the sidewalk, we have to fix that. That's
okay, that's more of what I'm concerned with.
We want to, whether it's St. Augustine, Soatia, Bahia, Centipede, Bermuda, any grass, we want it to be level so that somebody's not dragging out your crossing. We want it
Right
to
now,
be safe.
Okay, and then, post installation, this park sees a lot of passive action and that sort of thing. Is it recommended that we try to fence it off? I know we can only do so much, but do we need to tell people to stay off of the turf for a certain period of time to allow it to root? Or
So it's a very big area to fence off.
it is?
I know we have some more engineering from the playground, but that won't even cover the side of it. If we use, rebar and, caution tape, I think Christian's team and I will be out there every other day replacing caution tape because it'll be just getting disintegrated. I don't think there's a feasible way to fence it off. I think we would be better off to, nobody wants to see a sign, but the bifold sign that's out there, to put several of them across the field to inhibit people from being able to.
But generally speaking, though, doesn't St. Augustine hold up once you lay it down? It sets pretty quickly.
Yeah, there's a lot of myths about St. Augustine and everything. It will start to take root within the first week that we put it down. We could mow it the same day that we lay it. That's a myth. You don't want to go spin circles on it
Right,
because it'll move the sod out of place, but you can run across it straight. That's whether we do Bermuda, St. Augustine, any grass type. You could have foot traffic on it the same day. Do we need to have any kind of sport event on it or any kind of picnic or anything like that? No. So we would want to encourage people to stay off of it, use like you said earlier, Charles, Belinda. All communication she could get out to try to encourage people to stay off of it. As I'm passing by, or any member of my team is, as Christian's team is passing by, we can not tell people they have to get off, but encourage them to let the grass start.
Yeah.
I'll work with Belinda on different types of signs that we could just put around it to,
You could use just the yard sign.
yeah, taking something like that.
Yeah, and I think if we could also just notify as a courtesy, the Montessori school,
Yes.
just to let them know, hey, we're trying this, if you could try to avoid that area if at all possible.
This is our biggest concern, is that we do the front field here, and then when it's time to do the back field, on Montessori, whatever it's called, has no place to go for field play.
Right.
Other than the new turf in front. So we will probably talk with Jacob and Christian and see if we could rotate them on this side and then move them over to this side, just so we have a beef between the two while it's like 3 weeks max, and then we can move them permanently back there. We don't have to worry about the ball coming into it.
Sure. As a note, this quote here does not have the large back field on it. That
No,
was
it's just
just the discussion that was pulled off for a future date.
This is just the front.
And talking about the back, is it possible that you could do that over spring break or something, that those 10 days are enough for it to.
That would be up to you. It'll take us like,
But I'm saying, it's coordinating with that school, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to tell them while they're in session that they can't use it, but.
Well, what he's saying is that this grass would be set. This grass will be set in place and then they can go back there.
Right, I'm saying, this is fine, I don't issue that.
No, but letting them play out here while that's being done, even if they're in session. And they play out here and then that settles in and then they can play out there permanent.
Figure out calendaring so it works for everybody.
Okay. Motion, all those in favor of approving C? Opposed? D, motion to approve the 3-phase Long Meadow Playground repair, which I remember was very reasonably priced for veteran.
So I just want to note on this, because of the shipment time for the pod climber pieces, that's 14 to 16 weeks. So this would be a mid-March start date for this project.
Okay, I'll motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Can we just confirm the amounts and what's coming from reserve and what's excess?
Yes, just a moment.
And can we also get nowhere in here to that timeline information you just said it was helpful? Can we get a timeline on all of this
It will
stuff?
be attached to each contract, so they will each have after talking with each of the vendors, a 3-week window to complete their work with an extra 1-week buffer, just in case of weather or things like
Just
that.
built into
Yeah.
what their dates are.
Uh-huh.
So the
So
recommendation,
we'll have a full outline attached to each contract, and we'll share that.
Okay,
the recommendation is the cost of the 11.9, the 9.4, the 11.5, and 41, that totals 74,626.30 cents. Of which a majority of that is coming from reserve.
So 62,000 would come from reserves and 12,626.30 would come from capital. Because you still had money in reserves from the previous project.
I just think this is an amazing
yeah.
price to get this park fixed. I'm all over voting for this thing.
Yeah,
Any
we
other
would
discussion?
have done before 14 weeks, but that's.
But then we gotta wait on the equipment, but it's gonna happen by summer.
Right, start that timeline now.
Yeah, if they get the payment by December 1, which we can certainly get it to them before that, then mid-March is your start date. So for sure.
But will the other vendors are okay with honoring
It
their
works,
bid?
it works better for Diane because of her holiday decorating business.
The turf was what I was.
They are good as well.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We don't have an E, we don't have an F, we do have a G. This is for the bathroom revamp, not just restore, but revamp for $300,000 from both reserves and capital for Hatzel Darbo Design build work.
A motion to approve.
Second,
I'll second.
discussion.
Question. There is no contract in the board packet.
Charlie didn't get done reviewing it before it went, but it's your standard contract with the liquidated damages clause.
shouldn't we see the contract though before we
I think
vote
we
to
should,
approve?
I think we should table this.
Should we just do an intent?
Well, might as well just do it at the workshop.
We could move it to the, as an agenda item to the,
For us to spend $300,000 without a contract,
yeah, we should
ridiculous.
probably move it as an agenda. We can move it as a vote, as long as we notice it, move
Yeah.
it as an agenda to the workshop. So motion to table actually takes precedence anyway. Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Fee waivers, all those in favor?
Motion to approve.
A motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Non-compliance,
Second.
all those in favor? Now into discussion items, which is the COLIC 851 discussion.
So we do have Jake and Darren online from Collict to answer any questions that you may have. As we stand right now, we're in kind of a holding pattern with your three-phase process. They completed the conditions report, supplied that to the board, and it's been given to MPAC and Finance Committee. They did provide an ROM numbers as we discussed at your workshop, which was not in their original scope of work. The next two steps are architectural programming and schematics to complete their first three phases of this project. The question as it stands right now is, do you want to continue down the path of repair the existing building or build a new building? Or I know the Finance Committee last night discussed kind of a simultaneous path of continuing down phase 2 and 3 on both paths to get more information and possibly better numbers.
Can we ask Mark Maturo to join this conversation?
Sure, absolutely.
MPAC?
Yes,
Okay.
I think it makes more sense to get all the information possible.
Yeah.
Before we move in any direction.
What if, so if we go a parallel route to say, yes, we're gonna look at repair, but then we also need to look at simultaneous rebuild. I assume that doubles the cost?
Current costs?
The current cost.
It doubles?
The current, what has been paid out is for the
It's
three
just this.
phases of a remediation of the current building. We've not tasked Collict to do any work providing any of this type of feedback for a rebuild.
Okay, so they're giving us just the repair, but not a replace.
Correct. This was design fees for the renovation of the building, the exterior and redoing the interior. And so the whole point of it is to have complete drawings done that can be priced accurately, so you actually know what it costs. Nothing in the past has taken into account mechanical systems, civil works, and other things that are needed to improve it. And the true details of what it takes to fix the exterior building. They have looked at it. They have definite recommendations about the repair of the building. It completely makes sense. It's not as difficult as what previous studies looked at, but those previous studies never included everything else that needs to be fixed. Mechanical systems are done. They're at.
This is the most detailed study.
Correct.
Ever
This is
got.
actually what you need, which is a design process to have it fully detailed, get an accurate price, then you know what the price is. And it'll be fully designed, ready to go ahead and do it. So the process is in place to give you all the information that you possibly ever need. The way this was structured was, this first part was just to have them look at the building, figure out what on earth really needs to be done to it. It gives you a general idea that it's not as bad as it could be, and that it can be saved, but that was not the point of it. The point was to take it a couple more steps to what is schematic design development, get it to a point where it's more defined by the drawing specifications, generic specifications anyway. You can get a more accurate estimate at that point and see what the cost is and keep going. But already, no matter what, it's cheaper than building a building. And of course, that process will cost you more from a design standpoint. These fees are doing the renovation of the building and design work for that.
So this includes the study on the building itself and the renovation plan.
100%, yeah.
Okay, so it wouldn't be a full double then to do to have them do work on a new building.
A new
Because they were-
building would be a whole new design fee, completely and totally different.
Can we ask them? They're online.
Yes, they are.
suggest putting that out to more architects.
More architects, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think you ought to be handing that to them. But in terms of this work, if you want to know what it really takes to fix the building, you need to let this design process run its course. That's something I've been saying the entire time. Needs to get to a point so that you do have realistic numbers.
So your suggestion, so I understand, is continue with this process.
Correct.
Let's get to the end of this process and see what the revamp, the restore of the
Yes.
existing building will run us.
Right.
Then we can go out to bid for other architects to give us an idea of what a new building would cost if that's what we choose to do.
If you wanted to, but I think you're going to find that this is affordable anyway. Just going by, and they did put it in that report.
Yeah, I saw that. I read the.
A new building is going to be 500 plus a square foot. Who knows? Today's construction prices are definitely high.
And 500 sounds low to me.
Well, it could be. That's just it. So what I'm getting at is the renovation of this, no doubt is going to be cheaper, and I would say half. To even get another building back that's the same size, it's going to be double the price no matter what. And what's the point at that point? May as well be part of some.
Let me ask you as a member of the task force.
Yeah.
Repairing this building, as you said, half the price.
Yeah.
MPAG suggested a civic building on Lot D or somewhere,
That was,
a community building somewhere,
okay, so.
not here necessarily.
What we broke down was kind of three different types of way to look at a community center. The civic piece of it, which is the management company offices, board, meeting room and space for that, meetings for all the committees and other groups that want to have meetings there. All that is meant to occur in 851. Building size for that, it's appropriate for it, and try to limit it to that. The master plan group was looking at creating an activity center that would have indoor basketball, other things with it, similar to the K-8 gym. And then indoor studio space for dance classes, self-defense classes, those things, possibly performance space, but things that involve physical activities, that is something.
Now, let me just ask you about that,
Yes.
because I think that weighs heavily into this decision, heavily.
Yep.
That building would probably go on the other land we have, which is lot
Correct.
B or D.
Yes.
Would that, because this building has to be built to higher architectural standards because it's on a main drag.
Yeah.
Would it be the bigger building, would it be per square foot possibly less expensive than a street facing building?
It's still in celebration, so it still has to meet design guidelines. What I will say is that it's a lot of big spaces, so it's a building that probably does not cost as much as.
It's not going to cost the same kind of,
all this.
yeah, okay.
Furniture and all of that. The other piece to it, in the meantime, and we'll see it when we do present a little bit more, we worked with the architects to sort of take a look at the plan on the interior. And there is ways to create spaces in it that still take care of some of the classes. So for instance, in the back of the 51 building, there is a room that's by itself. It's not part of those three rooms that are connected. Well, you make that into a studio that's more for the dance classes, self-defense classes now, and it can be set up that way so these guys don't have to tear down the other three spaces all the time. Take the other spaces, what we're able to do with that is there's not good storage in the building, create a better storage room for those spaces. But what that allows you to do when you take away those three little closets that are there, and there's that huge weird column in the inset area there, if you add that to those meeting rooms, you all of a sudden gain quite a bit of space.
Yeah, because that center is wasted.
It is. So bringing that to the edge of that, atrium space, you gain space, able to create a couple larger spaces that are definitely more useful and that don't have to be broken down. So one is for the boards, committees, better IT. Another one is more with tables, chairs that be done for the various classes of things that may occur there.
Colleen has a drawing of what he's describing.
Okay, they are.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
I wasn't sure.
The other thing, that big atrium area, one of the things that many years ago I talked with an architect about, if it was ever ripped out, that there could be another floor put in there?
It's not worth the elevators.
It's not worth the work?
No, not
Yeah,
at all.
okay. Because it's so high. It's such a.
It is, it is a weird space, and some of the things we talked about is what do you do with that? The one part of this plan is also taking where the public interface is, instead of out there in that weird spot that's at the back of the building, moving that to the front into the office space, creating a true space window that's inside of a room with a waiting area, and then also where all those items that are for sale be inside of that. And then with the atrium closed-in, it's just the atrium, use that some other way. One might suggest that they do that.
Yeah, I will say, just to be as an additional clarification, in the current scope of what we have contracted with Click is just a schematic design. It's not the complete design. So there still will be additional complete design fees at a later point.
Yeah, and you have all of that. So the RFP includes all the way through. So I would recommend it.
Oh, so I see they are reducing the size of that atrium area and
Well,
increasing.
this is the demo drawings.
That's the-
new one. This is what it looks like now. So
This is now.
This is now, I do have Darren on
on the office side,
I see the change, yeah.
Should we have
So-
Darren from Click kind of walk through?
That'd be
what-
great.
he can.
Sure. Yeah, either way, I can't actually see the screen and I can't actually share my screen, but so I don't know if you could just share and we can talk about it, and Mark knows a lot. He was in the conversation as well, so.
1 minute. There we go.
Success. Yeah, so you can see just at a high level, overall floor plan. Celebration Avenue, just for context, is basically what would be running along the bottom of this page. So it's kind of rotated from how it actually sits in space. And then basically whatever, excuse me, whatever you're seeing in it is dashed is basically what is currently, and again, this is not set in stone, but whatever you're seeing is dashed is currently proposed to be demolished. So you can see the walls and some doors that, again, this concept is proposing for demolition. Everything else that's not dashed would be existing to remain. Yeah, and then if we can go to the new page, you can kind of get a sense. Whatever has a gray hatch is basically a new wall. So we kind of shifted what we're calling boardroom and open studio. The wall that touches the atrium that divides those two spaces has been shifted. So those two rooms basically increase in size and that atrium becomes a little bit narrower. So you kind of, regain some, make it a little bit more usable by shifting it inside of those rooms versus in the atrium. And then there's a larger break room on the other side. We've added basically a conference room where the old resident services was located. We've shifted the resident services south, so it's Celebration Avenue facing. So basically, it's closer to the street. And then basically also a little bit of a reorg on the office, so kind of opened it up a little bit. And then we removed the little unisex bathroom that's in that office. Added a couple more desks and then just shifted where the print area is. And then the electrical and mechanical rooms down there, we did not touch those. Those will have to remain because that's where basically all those utilities are being fed in. So shifting those, making any major modifications to the restrooms would come at a higher cost because those things involve trenching and considerable demolition to renovate. So drywall, metal framing, fairly easy, but if you start moving utilities around, it becomes more expensive. So this is the current plan. Again, it's not set in stone. I don't know if Mark or Jacob want to chime in with any other additional information.
The idea is that the existing building right now, there is a lot of individual offices and spaces that are chopped up. So the idea that you can see there is a full line of cube space. So it's opening up the space. So it's not putting back many walls, keeping that space as flexible as possible. That's what also keeps it a little bit more inexpensive. That conference room is for smaller committee meetings and things that don't take one of the larger rooms. So there's that space available. It's not really there now. So you have a smaller conference room that the staff can use plus also for the community use for smaller meetings. Obviously a lounge space for them. But the idea is to open up everything else is desks all the way down. A small conference room for leadership. We talked about possibly rearranging that, but if they're okay, all being in the same room, okay. That's fine. But having the services area inside the room, getting all those things that are for sale into that space.
So that can be closed off after
Yeah.
hours.
So in the current, well.
Right now, they can walk in and steal from the store. Yeah.
They have to every day pull all of that store equipment back if there's any evening events out there.
And we are gaining a ton over here in the conference area, in the big room area.
It is.
The multi-use
The
area.
conference room started about here before, so
That's a ton, it's big.
That's now a very large room, and the thought is to break it into two large spaces, so the boardroom piece, and then it's up to you guys and what the cost is, whether that's a partition that can be folded up again or not, but you can see it does create a very large space that's usable, and thought again is that it's more set up as table type things.
Are the partitions that exist reusable?
They're ancient.
Are they in terrible shape?
They're not.
So the couple of points of clarity, the shell of the building, the outside look in this proposal stays exactly the same as it
It
is.
stays the same, but boy, you got new windows repainted and things fixed.
Exactly. So it's not going to be a
In the interior.
significant change for anyone looking at it. So,
No, okay, it's redoing the landscape of the civil. Right now, a lot of what's caused is ground is too high around base that. building.
sure. So
So redoing that as well.
redoing some of this, are we? Eons ago, I thought that there was that if we changed anything in this building, one of the sticking points was that the bathrooms do not currently meet the same ADA guidelines that we have to meet today. Is that accounted for in this?
We don't touch them. I'll let the architects answer that one better than me. It's usually a certain percentage of it. I deal with hospitals. Buildings.
Yeah, sure. I definitely think the ADA stalls and the two restrooms, there's some clear area issues in there. There's just not enough width in there to I don't want to get into the details, but yeah, there are some issues in the ADA stalls in there. So I think that's part of the schematic effort. When we sort of get to a concept that we like, we can get into those kinds of that level of detail. But yeah, at a high level, I think, we could propose shifting the location of the lavatories or something like the two sinks in the ADA stalls basically, or something. So they're I don't want to make it sound like it's the end of the world, but there could be a simple solution. Another possible solution is just double checking the quantity. Maybe if by code we could reduce a fixture, we could again make the ADA stalls wider that way. So there's some options there, and that would sort of flush out in the schematic phase.
Yeah, it looks like it works instantly if you take out that first toilet next to it.
Exactly.
I'm willing to bet, to your point, the fixture count should be just fine.
So I think that, so
So it used to be a school, it's not a.
yeah, so here's where I'm sitting with it. This works, right? I mean, judging from where it is, I think that I would still want to know what a new building would cost, what we would get for that. But I don't know if there's appetite, because it's gonna be expensive to do.
Well, basically, you were getting that though from Mark. Mark is saying, based on his experience, we're gonna be in excess of 5 a square for a new building.
We don't.
But I
have to
don't think
necessarily-
that shouldn't have been a surprise that a brand new building is.
I wouldn't surprise me.
So I don't know why that's
Yeah.
sticking.
Well, Brent,
That's not me.
it's gotta be the name.
Let
Yeah. Point, see if it made sense to renovate it.
Sure.
With the cost being not crazy, it is.
Yeah.
And that's why in the beginning, I wanted this process to occur. I actually thought it was going to go the other way.
Yeah.
But after seeing the building, seeing what was really wrong with it, it's not the roof failing, it's the windows were never sealed right, ever. And the flashing wasn't. Even if somebody were to reset the windows at some point correctly, wouldn't have this problem. The base of the wall would have failed no matter what. This wasn't detailed, right? So a lot of the cost is fixing the base of the wall.
So let's talk about if this is appropriate now with How many desk spots are there in this proposal here?
We had to go back in just this past week to add 2 more desks to reach the current growth scope.
So currently you already have max capacity with this design.
With this
Hire
design-
anything else, or somewhere
Well,
gets
no.
bigger, we don't have space.
You say current growth scope.
Well, with like next year's
25 positions.
So
staffing.
anybody work in an office or do some people work remote? That's one thing.
This
we need to be really
accounts for the people that need a desk and a chair.
all the time.
So
Yeah.
does that meet the office requirement that grant managers needs today and say 5 years?
And
As your- as your-
partner programs are also an important part of the equation,
Yeah,
which future growth, and I know right now we can't even get people scheduled correctly.
yeah, I mean, I think that's the other struggle that we would like to ask that Victoria Siri be added to the stakeholder group for the 851 meetings, because I mean, I know the intent from MPEG was this was going to be kind of the civic business center of Celebration, with the intent of building out like Heritage Hall and Lakeside potentially for other areas for partner programs. But we know those are down the road further. So what impact does that have on existing partner programs that we're already struggling with right now?
That is something that I did ask of understanding who the groups are that use it and how many people there is with each class. And that will tell you what the spaces really need to be. It's really taking that into account and understanding it and then figuring out how you schedule it still.
So, and we can say that the existing town hall was already overbooked and out of space when we had everybody running through there.
And we're always like, we just went through potentially looking at more partner programs at the last rec, testing out a few, so can it accommodate future growth? That's where with Island Village and those future phases, and obviously, like, I don't.
Well, and that's the thing, is that we need to look at what the existing facilities remodeled can do down the road in the years ahead. And we also need to look at MPAG's recommendation, what that community center is going to do to take the pressure off of this.
Yeah. I think that's
That's a really important thing to consider.
This is a civic building and that's a recreation building, and they are different partner programs
Completely
that don't
different.
work here.
I think my fear with that, I agree. I think my fear is this is a 2-3 year project to get this thing done.
No, it's not. Want this? No, it'll be done by the end of next year. If you keep going, this doesn't take long to
So
get it you finish, let them finish designing it. Obviously, it takes several more months than permitting and building it. But a lot of this is end of next year.
I do want to, with that, I just want to ask Jake and Darren their thoughts on timeline.
Yeah. Well, I'll let them answer.
Jake and Darren?
I think a couple months for design sounded reasonable. I'll let Jake speak to the construction of this, but
Yeah. Hey, guys, I'm Jake Vickers, president of Click. Thanks for having us here. Exciting project. Couple months design. Permitting could be a couple more months. A little back and forth with the jurisdiction is not uncommon, especially in an older building we're renovating. And construction timeline, I think we need to qualify my statement by, we need to know for sure what the detailed scope is. 8 to 12 months. I know that's a little bit of a range, but I think what Mark was saying, get it done within 2025. I think that's certainly a possibility, a strong possibility. And allow some time for bidding.
And I think the experience of Click, when you're looking at a facility like this, where I won't say an agent structure. That's kind of what we're looking at here. Are there pieces in here that it sounds like we're replacing pretty much everything other than the shell? But like the things that we would want to upgrade, we're going to end up having to replace anyway. Things like all the mechanicals. I mean, there's going to be an opportunity that if we need to upgrade wiring or anything like that, we can do all that because everything's going to be out. So the advantage of a new build would really just be if we want to create a different shell.
Yes.
which I think the conversation of the new build is not creating what is already existing with something big.
That's what they're saying, a new shell. He just
Well, I
said,
know, I know.
but I mean a whole new shell, but a bigger
I guess
shell.
there's three options that I
Right.
think people are looking at, where, and I just want to make sure it's clarified, that there's the repair as it is, rebuild it exactly the same square footage, rebuild it bigger than the square footage. I think it's a waste to do a rebuild the same size. We either go bigger as a new build, or we repair what we have existing. That's
Okay.
the two options.
I agree with that, but does anything bigger fit on this lot?
Not unless you go to another story.
Well, yeah, I think 2 stories is where we go.
But 2 stories, as he said, then your costs start skyrocketing when you go to elevators, ADA,
Yeah.
staircases.
And
This building does not have the structure data onto it.
No, I'm saying if we did a new build and went 2 stories, that would be a lot more per square.
As you increase the square footage, you need to increase the parking, so there's still site issues
Well,
with
then,
it. You
that
can
is
solve
the
it.
conversation of CCBD is having land next to it. Is there something better for celebration?
They don't have-
DDT doesn't have any land next to it.
That's still.
They don't, it belongs to school and they're not trading.
They don't. Can I say something about the renovation design? So if this building gets renovated, something similar to what was shown on the screen earlier, we typically try to reuse whatever components are in the right location. Think about ductwork. I know the air devices, like the registers and grills, look old. We probably want to replace those. We would want to replace them to bring them up, make them look new and fresh. But if we could reuse some of the ductwork that's hidden, that's going to save you a few bucks. Same with electrical. If we have some electrical circuits that are going to the right location, have the right voltage, we don't have to rip all that out just to rip it out. So we typically try to reuse what we can when it makes sense.
Now, Jake, let me ask you, ballpark, and I know this is still, you're not done with the final drawings. Mark was referring to some prices per square. Like for like, where we gain usable space in this new one, but let's just say same square footage, rehabbing this building, ballpark price.
I think
No,
we have this in the rough order.
Yeah, we have it in there. I just wanted on the public, just spoken.
I can present that rough order.
There-
back.
Yeah, what I put in the ROM I shared with Lauren was 350 to 450 a square foot, but that assumed this existing site, all the site work's done. You're not doing, if you guys are talking about going to a new location, it really depends on what site you pick. If you need to bring in fill, is there stormwater utility involved?
Remodeling this existing building.
Oh, sorry, can you say the question again?
What's the rough price for remodeling the existing building, repairing, rehabbing, the new windows, the new walls, that design, that rough design that you've shown?
So I gave a range just because there's still some work to be done to get us even to schematic design. And exterior repairs, you can see I range from 72 to 120 bucks a square foot.
2.8 million to 5.5 million.
Was 2.5 million was the cutoff with impact? Right.
2.1, yeah, 2.5, yeah. But now what Mark is saying, Mark believes that it's gonna fall in that low range, closer to the low range, the 1.5.
The exterior, I don't know. The interior, I think we're not putting back space that it's expensive. So there's finishes, other things go into it. As he said, it designed in such a way to save parts of the systems. I feel like it can be on the lower side. The opposite is it's part paint, ceiling and lighting.
I put this ROM together before I had the floor plan that we looked at earlier. My gut's telling me that 90 bucks a square foot for what I saw in that floor plan is enough, if not too much.
That's
what you were saying.
Yes.
That's what Mark was saying. So here's
Exactly.
the bottom
I agree.
line. I mean, this is what I'm hearing. The bottom line that I'm hearing is that worst case for the exterior repairs, worst case, we're talking 1.7 million. Am I right? Likely case for the interior renovations, we're looking at 1.3. We're now at 3 with another 750 or so in mechanical, electrical, plumbing, et cetera. So we're looking at $3.5 to $4 million for the repair of the building. Am I in the ballpark?
I think it can be done for less than that.
That's what I think.
Okay.
Three to 3.5?
Equivalent,
So less than,
3.5?
3 to 3.5.
Probably so, but we need to complete the design process to find out. That's what I.
Right. No, I'm just trying to figure out.
Yes.
I'm just trying to chart a path forward.
Yep, I think it's in that range. I'd say they'd be saying the same thing.
I think we should get let them finish up their work, get a better idea what this is going to cost, because we've done all this great work with MPAG, great work. We have space to build a community center to take some of the load off. This can, in the future, as we move community spaces, let's say some of the dance things that meet currently at 851, we build the community center, they move over as management needs more space, they take over some of the other space, put cubes in, it becomes office space because it's multi-use space.
Yes.
This is also not just repair, this is improvement.
This is huge improvement.
Yeah.
In my
The
opinion.
boardroom that actually works. So there is an IT component to it. Furniture we can get. Reuse stuff.
Yeah, the interior finishes is also, I think, a big part of this, because it's not going to be the same ripped chairs that are all over the boardroom.
Which we have to do anyway. As
Everything is thought of, right, but everything's been considered here.
there's reserve money for that stuff.
Well,
Right.
True.
Why
So you're
wouldn't we
going to
then?
have a much better facility all the way around.
So, but what if, so, and I'm not advocating for new build, I'm just trying to understand.
Look at the new build price.
No, I understand that, but we going, so we're just saying we're not even gonna explore it?
No. I'm saying that once we have this, then we'll have some plans. And if we as a board would like to put out a RFP for it.
Or can we do it concurrently while this current path is going?
I agree with that, because if that's a
Well, would we
five-year
have Collect
project,
do it, or would we have to put it out for RFP?
You need to put it down.
Yeah.
Just.
because that's a five-year project, let's spend, while this is finishing, let's design a new building. Even that's gonna be a.
The design fees for that are going to be.
And I honestly don't think we can wait 5 years to have a civic space.
Well, then we should start that timeline. Now. If it is 5 years, let's start that in twenty
Can you get
twenty-five.
that in flight?
Do we want to get it in flight for a new building? We don't want to do that on the existing, you're not saying.
No. Do this,
Would totally.
and at the same time, start
On working on block
designing
E.
a building for that.
Well,
yeah.
interrupt where they're progressing right now.
Definitely.
And
I think that's exactly right, that we go ahead with Collect on this design and see where that lands and get a dollar amount. Then we start the process, and Mark can lead that group. You're in getting.
He's designed that building for us once already.
Matter of fact, my firm does.
And it gives us, it not only does it gives us more for maybe the same money as putting a new building on 851. Think about it for a second. If we're looking for the same size building,
I just want to see data. That's fine.
right, but well, we've got some. Look at the same size
I say
building,
new build.
350 to 450, same square. So we can get the same square footage for 3 million as opposed to the same square footage for 5.5
I
million.
just,
I think Charles is saying something a little bit different. I think Charles is saying that he wants to see simultaneous numbers for repair of existing and tear down, rebuild on the same spot.
because we're in a unique,
But we have that here. That's what the
We have
5 to 6.4.
And
but not to the degree of.
I
will is not.
one of the reasons we set up NTAG, and we didn't set it up, but it was set up by the previous board, was to defer to another group that spent a lot of time studying this, that isn't just ad hoc, we're flying by the seat of our pants. And I'm getting from Mark that the thinking is, if we're gonna get a full design to figure out what it would cost to tear down and rebuild 851, we have to put that out to RFP, and we're gonna spend a lot of money
You gotta spend hundreds of thousands to design.
that we could put into fixing our existing building.
And if you want to design a new building, as you said, you should think about the other center that's on lot B as opposed to, if you're gonna build a new building, you may as well build something big enough.
So the
Do
design,
that somewhere else.
you're saying the design for a new building should go for lot D space, not 850.
Which is,
If we're gonna spend the money,
Don't bother building-
which is also in our plan that we need to be doing anyway.
yeah.
And that's a longer timeline also.
Yes.
If we could have our 851 back better in 12 to 18 months,
Yes,
max,
yes.
my God, for a lot less money than building it back, building a new building the same size.
And then we're only 3 years away from a community center at that.
Right.
So does. it-
And we can build up more capital in the new capital fund.
Well, and it's going to take those 5 years to
Yeah,
build
that's
that revenue anyway.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think one of the things we came into this year talking about is figuring this 851 thing out and getting something done and having MPEG create a plan, which they did, which is a robust plan that says build a new community center on Lot D, then we fix 851. And folks, we're moving ahead. We're not just sitting here spinning our wheels. If we go with the idea of getting a new thing on building a new building on 851, we're going to spend $250,000.
Yep.
And we're going to have now competing proposals and we cannot move forward probably till the end of 2025.
I would say it is worth $250,000
I
to know that option.
I disagree.
Making a $3 million decision.
I totally
And
disagree.
I look at this as you are settling.
I don't believe this is settling.
That's where we're going.
Not if we're building a new community center.
The other thing that.
This building we're settling.
I'm struggling a little bit with.
You want a $6 million building?
We did the presentation. You did the presentation, we talked about $2.5 million. The recommendation was at $2.5 million we remediated, correct? And we're,
It's in a range.
and I
So-
don't want to own it.
Hey, I did not.
No, I know,
I said that. I thought it would probably stretch to 3. But that is still cheaper than building a new building, period. I think the building could be saved. It could be last another 25 years. And again, that's why we talk about different uses. You need a civic building for the management group and everything else. You may as well do that in a cheaper structure. If you're gonna build a new building, build a bigger one, build it somewhere else.
It's purpose-built.
Or
Include
Thank
the
you.
activity stuff, purpose-built. You can upscale, downscale that as you need. And if
There's not-
851 wasn't savable, I would have said, put those functions in that building, but that is not the case. It would still cost the same amount to add it to a new building because it's that much more square footage, 15,000 square feet added to it.
And again, the point that Mark is making, this has got to make this, you got to hear this. This proposal says building the exact same size building costs 70 to 100% more to build it new than to fix what we have,
And it's gonna end up
being the same.
being the same.
And taking
I mean,
5 years.
essentially.
Well,
I'm not advocating to.
Do we know if the lot size on townhome is very similar to the size on lot D?
No, it's much smaller.
It's way small.
And
I've done overlays of every bit of it. The footprint of, you can fit an incredible amount in lot B. So I did do a drawing once.
Well, the drawing, the drawing.
35 square foot building, and it still only took up maybe a third of it and half. Incredible amount.
And I will say, I invite anyone to attend a master plan committee meeting. Those meetings run as full like architectural design meetings, that it is not the committees that we are used to. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but the way this committee is making these decisions, Mark is able to speak at the level that Kalik is speaking because they are guiding this process. So it's not, what should we do? What do you think? They're putting the input into how this should be working.
Principal of an architecture firm, I do this for
Yeah.
a living as a designer planner.
We don't know what we're doing.
So that kind of is the case.
We plan
And there is a reason also why we're adding meeting rooms in different locations. So some of our things were to put an event space meeting room that goes with bathrooms in Artisan and back near the amphitheater. Same thing in East Village by the big field there. If you disperse meeting rooms that are this size or whatever, these can be used for classes. So you have ways to disperse all these groups that want to rent space in different locations also.
Which along those lines, the master plan group put together recommendations for space at Lakeside and space here at
Yes.
Control.
Correct.
With the current design that's proposed, does that solve any of those issues?
This is still working as 851 as a civic center in terms of the board, the management company, meeting space for committees, those type of functions.
But I guess what he says, does this building help solve some of our capacity problems with those bigger rooms?
It certainly doesn't hurt.
It falls to,
And
we have
breaking it up.
need for 4 times the amount of rooms that we have if.
There will never be enough.
And we could never get 4 times on that lot.
No.
Never.
even because of parking, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Parking. And that's why part of the design process, we're only at the beginning of it. We haven't even done what's called schematic of really talking with all different groups. And one thing that I said is we need to understand who the groups are that are renting it out and how many people that involves each time. So does it make more sense instead of one big huge room to have 4 smaller rooms because every class has 10 or 20 people and not 50? So trying to understand who the users are and what size they are is another piece to this that might impact what we do with that right-hand half. The other side is offices, open it up, make it all offices. Quite frankly, you could stuff more cubes in there, what they're showing. They're a little more
You would,
aggressive
yeah.
on it.
I think it's important to say that the civic function of 851 is committees and the board and management, but it's also lifelong learning and bingo and things like that.
Right.
It's not athletic events. Athletic events are in the Lotte building.
What we were,
Athletic events and some of the arts.
Should be entirely civic related.
yeah, the kind of thing we were discussing is things that require tables and chairs, and it's always tables and chairs are.
Yes,
So we're not doing full room flips.
breaking down tables and chairs
Entire rooms down.
Yes.
That's where we're.
and then setting them up later that night for a meeting.
And
Yeah.
switching out.
Because every group needs chairs and tables.
Correct.
So here's what I would,
Again, in the meantime, it was to use that back room still, make it more like a studio space, that could still be used in the meantime till something else occurs.
Right, we have to have we have to use it.
But then that backspace can be retrofitted for management growth.
Yes, correct.
so I would recommend that we move forward with what we're doing right now. We continue the marching orders. However, I would add a discussion item for the December workshop to discuss going out for RFP on the recreation building.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then.
The community center.
A community.
Communities, can we call it community center? Because I don't want to,
Yeah.
if it's strictly recreation.
The civic
and it's
center and the
just
community.
It's not.
I'm gonna be opposed.
Big building for non-meetings.
Big building for
yeah,
non-meeting, non-civic building.
So, yeah.
Yes.
I think that's
This community that has performance space has other things. to
Yeah.
mention.
right. And so, but that's what I would support. Then that way we're not slowing down on this because we could still get to the end of this and then decide the hell with this. We don't want this anyway. We're going to go a different direction.
But then you know, and you know
But
you
then-
did the right decision.
I think that, I'm with Eric,
Yes.
you're with Eric, you're with Eric, he's not with Eric. We got 4, I think,
Yeah, I'm open to hearing it.
I think this week, I think Eric's idea is a good one.
So we're
That we continue with Collect to get the final, to get a really firm cost on what this building is gonna cost to fix. We've already made it.
Yeah, right.
Finish
Let's
this
finish.
up. Let 'em finish. And then we start in December, the process of preparing with the work, with the good people of MPAC.
Can we ask them to
right,
start?
Yeah,
but we'll
Discussing
we
that?
can discuss that in December.
Yeah.
At the
Right.
workshop.
But I
And
actually,
that's, sorry.
go ahead.
Say one thing real quick. That's one thing that I've been trying to say this whole time is that getting full designs for these things is X amount of money, but then you know what the costs are. And you can get the design done now. That doesn't mean that you need to build it. But at least then you know.
I just wanna know.
I think it is the right thing. If the direction is to build a building on Lot D, there's something bigger, start the process and get it moving.
I think we have at
You'll never get it.
least a majority of the board that
Same
says
thing with some
we,
of the other
we want to
things.
go in that direction. I think we should discuss it in December in more detail, but I want this to continue. I think Jared wants this to continue, Katie wants this to continue, Eric wants this to continue. So if we like what we see, we might have our building back by next Christmas,
Might, yes.
guys. That would be flipping huge because right now, these groups aren't meeting anyway.
Right.
There are groups not meeting because they have no space.
So
I do want to make sure you guys authorize them to keep going somewhere in this, so.
That's what we just said. Keep going.
Is that enough?
I
What we're
told them
saying?
that, but.
I mean, you've already paid them.
We're making
So they might as well keep going.
So I think the one piece though, when we discuss in December is it doesn't preclude us either.
We're not building the building.
We're not building the building yet. So I think it doesn't preclude us if at that point in time, we want to even go in for an RFP on trying to say, figure out what would work in a space that fits in the town hall size versus going out on Lot D. And then it solves a little bit of both of the
But
challenges.
again, we're back to Mark's very expert opinion that we can't go larger on Lot D.
On
I mean, on 851. No, it's not get up.
What are you trying to build?
And where are you gonna
It's
park?
not big
Yeah.
enough to
The
get,
parking is
parking is behind. It's not big enough to get the full activity aspect of indoor courts, workout space, studio space, all of that.
So there's not much.
But it's not that big to have that plus the civic function.
And Mark's designs, not that this is what we're doing, but there was parking consideration in the Lot D rendering.
Lots.
You know, just to show proof of concept that we can have a big building and lots of parking.
I did do the calculations with.
Because for those bigger events and things,
Yeah.
A51 has never worked.
Right.
Because parking is always an issue.
So
Okay, so next steps is Collect will continue finishing the rest of their current scope. On the December workshop, we will have a discussion item talking about issuing an RFP for a community center on Lot D. And
Can you invite them back to that so that they can,
Certainly.
in case there's a directive there?
the other ask that I would like to know, and it doesn't need to be tonight from the Collect guys, is if you could prepare a paragraph, mainly so that we're not putting Mark on the spot anymore, and we're using someone that we're paying, to say, in a new build scenario, what is the advantage? Like, does a wall last longer? I know it sounds silly, but it's like, if it's a like for like, if we're replacing a lot of the things, wiring is wiring, it's gonna last there for forever, you know, for a copper, but are there other pieces that, yes, if you save this part of it, it does have a lifespan of X, even though we're talking it's 100 years versus, you know.
Like the ducting that he was talking
Something like
about.
that. We'll let that, but I think that would be helpful for us, you know, maybe by the December workshop or even in their final proposal on just kind of what the lifespan is or what the disadvantage of reusing anything is.
Is there a
We could certainly
downside
do
to
that.
rebuilding?
And as part of the continued design process, we need to determine, I heard Mark say a 25-year goal, I think, for what the renovation we'd be aiming for the building to last another 25 years. So those kind of discussion points are usually what we have during the design process with the client and the owner. And absolutely, we can provide a recap of, I guess, expected life and expectancy for certain building components with the renovation.
That would be great, and I would like to suggest that we move on.
Well, hold on.
I have one
So,
more
yep.
What
point
are
of
we doing with,
clarification.
so what about CDD and all of this? We had,
Finish the CDD implementation.
yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
Right now, we're authorized to go through schematic design. I thought I heard the conversation, it might have gone where you went construction drawings, which are permittable. Are we authorized to move forward with schematic or only, or through construction documents?
Yeah, that's, so we're only authorized through schematic.
that's what your current contract is. If you want us
So
to,
we need a bid for construction.
we already have.
We have the bid for construction?
We have the
We-
full bid and we pieced it out to just go through schematics.
The first, so we, yeah,
Okay.
the full bid was like 300,000.
Oh, that's right.
We
That's
just
right.
did the first, I think, 100.
So we would have to authorize that.
So we'd have to put that in your December meeting to add that to the current
Say that.
Put it on the workshop.
to discuss.
And then a workshop to discuss, and then we can vote on it.
And
Yeah.
they can keep going because they're still doing.
They're still doing schematic.
Definitely gonna improve
So,
and keep going.
Jake, to clarify, you're cleared to go through schematics and in our December meetings, we'll discuss the additional scope from your original bid to the RFP.
Understood. Thank you.
Jake, Darren, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for including us. Appreciate it.
Mark.
Thank you.
So can we go back?
Thanks.
Fine.
In issuing the RFP for the recreation center, that
Community center,
but,
the community center, yeah. that's-
sorry,
Big building, I mean,
big building. That sends a sign that we're not interested in part CBD effectively. Because they've been doing all the work with Dick's Height. We're us issuing an RFP effectively.
Well, we're discussing. We're discussing it, and we could discuss working with CDD.
I think, so here's my opinion with the CDD piece. I think someone needs to step up and move. And I think they're moving with Dick's Height with this, but they don't have anywhere to put anything.
True.
And so I think that if we put on a meeting, hopefully, they have a new board, that we're going to discuss an RFP for a big building for non-meetings, they might come to us at that point in time and turn around and say, here's where we're at. We're either at this stage or we need land or we.
But in the interim, we have solved one of our biggest problems, one of the biggest reasons we needed to work with them to raise some money. We have solved that now with our,
We have the land, we have
and
the,
we now have the money coming
we
in.
have the resources, and we have the direction.
We have the master plans.
But you also, you're struggling to keep grass growing and other.
Well, but that's
things like,
Yeah, we can fix that.
I'm talking about getting the basics right. We're talking about looking to build more.
No, we're just gonna start the process so we can, because as everybody's saying, 851 is a small space, it's finite. And we cannot, let's just accept the fact. This is a fact, folks. We can't put a bigger building on the 851 lot. It is limited in size. 2 stories are ridiculously expensive. We won't have the parking. Even if we do, we can't get it from the school through some magical trick that CDD was thinking. The school is not gonna give us any land. We are landlocked there. We have Lot D. It's huge.
I recommend that we, in the spirit of partnership moving forward, we invite CDD reps to the workshop.
I would love to.
I like that.
Yep,
We can
Just
put
go
goals
back
in.
to your facts, just that you could build a 2-story building there.
you could,
Yes,
but you won't need all the
it would be
parking.
More expensive, which any new build would be more expensive. So here's my sticking point is that with CCDD, yeah, this should all be shared with them. They should look at it. They should know where we're kind of moving toward. But when I look at the civic corridor, their offices should not be out there. That should be all for recreation community. So if there's something where they're working with the county to get the land next to us, that we can build a bigger civic center here. And then out there.
But they're
we
not,
can
that deal is moot. The school district is not giving away their land.
Or maybe we need to
I
approach-
know,
Maybe we need to approach them and see if we're gonna put a bigger civic center on that spot, would they be willing to give?
the
us
school
more?
land,
Yes.
the school is not gonna give anybody that land.
We already own land, though. I don't know why we need to
I don't
acquire.
think they can.
I don't think,
I don't think it can go from public to private.
yeah, you can't go to private.
Which is why we need CCD,
But
if we
see-
wanna do a bigger.
I-
footprint.
Trust me, I've talked to people in the school district, they're not giving away land.
It just seems like we're falling back into the not wanting to partner, but as long as we're gonna have.
We're not falling back into the not wanting to partner, we're falling back into the, why don't we get some stuff done? Because, we can sit here and discuss this
I'll put it,
for another year.
I'll spin the table this way, I'll spin the table this way.
Yeah,
We kind of have an approach where we're going. CCDD, sell us an idea of why we shouldn't do this and why we should do something.
that would be great. And to the point of CCDD's building on the civic corridor, they got that land from Disney. Their building is gonna be there, they're not moving.
Because again, when I think of a community center out there, I don't think just Lot D, I think of Lot B, Lot C, and Lot D.
But Lot C belongs to CDD and it's not gonna change, it's not gonna become CROA land.
Right, but
And they have no
one
room to
option
build
would be
another
if we
building.
decide to build 2-story civic center and they move their offices into our building, then they give us that land. Now you have this whole civic corridor that you can do
But
something
you don't
special.
even two.
That is unbelievable. Yeah, but we can't park 2 stories.
Just because something's tough doesn't mean we should just stop. That's what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
no, it does, actually. I think it does. I think if something is nigh on impossible, according to experts, that we should eliminate any pipe dreams and stop dreaming of these impossible dreams when we can actually do something and move forward and make things happen for this community and not just talk about it.
I don't think
Is
it's a
CDD
pipe dream, but if that's how you see it.
I said it's a pipe dream.
Is
And I'm getting it from experts that it's a pipe dream.
I think we have to listen to their recommendation.
Yep.
Is CDD still working with Dixide? I thought they had a meeting where they terminated the contract.
No clue. I thought they terminated the contract too, but I didn't want to say that because
Yeah, I mean, it was in their minutes that they had terminated.
I think we have to focus on.
CROA.
Yes,
Yes,
because we are.
yes,
Why don't we invite CDD to the workshop?
yes, Eric.
They want to come.
Good. Yes, focus on it in December.
Yep. Okay, moving along to management report.
You don't need to read everything.
No,
Okay.
just give
Can
it.
we ask some questions?
Is there anything different?
Yeah, can we just ask the question? The report is there for everyone to read.
The countertops in Island Village, what's the progress on that?
Those should be, I just was talking to the rep recently, I think they're gonna be the first week of December.
We have a number under?
When it's gonna happen.
Countertops or?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they came out a few weeks and noticed some issues on how the waterfall ledge comes in.
Yeah.
Okay,
Play that really threw them for a loop on why, because I agree, the project should have been completed. But yeah, they're looking at this, it's in production, and I really do feel it should be in that first week of December, at latest the second week of December, the completion of the full countertop at Island Village outdoor space.
and I noticed we got the sunshades for the pool chemicals, which is good, that's complete, I mean, pool equipment. Any updates on the, designs for the playground sunshades?
Did we invite them to this meeting?
Thank you.
360? Yeah. Did we invite 360?
We invited them to the workshop.
Did we invite them to this meeting though too? No.
All right, so to read verbatim, an email from this week. Christian, I'm relaying the information I received from our general contractor. These are stuck in the development review. He said they are about 30 to 45 days behind schedule. I asked if there was anything we could do to speed the process up. He basically said, no, you are in line. Not sure if your customer has any contacts at development review, but if so, they may want to give it a try. He did not say that all other aspects of the permits are approved, just stuck in development. I
So
know.
that's the county?
Yes.
Mhm,
Sounds on it.
yes.
Fruit basket or something?
I know it mentions the NOC needing filed, and a gentleman at the permit office agreed we cannot post an NOC without the approved permit. So that is not the current issue.
And these shades are for where?
This is for the East Village Crescent Playground and the Island Village Playground.
We can.
Okay.
Hippodrome fountain. What's it's not in the report and it was an open issue.
On the electrical work.
Yeah.
To finalize that.
Oh,
Where is that?
That was just.
That was a
the
different,
last meeting.
different, yeah, different one. Sorry.
Hippodrome, we were talking.
Hippodrome.
Yes. That is in the, where I can double check on where they are in the scheduling to come out to do the work on that. I think they came out and their parts on order. I don't,
Can we get a schedule for that?
yes.
And then also on the consent agenda, we went through a whole bunch of benches that are going to be installed. Can those show up in the management report with the schedule of when everything's going to be installed?
Yes.
It can be whatever, but it'd be nice to have like a grid with each park and when it's going to be installed.
Question overall for your service area change request. Do you have any study on why we're seeing so many and why they're so high and why the failure in the initial one of not being inspected appropriately doesn't account for everything? It just seems like every so many months, there's more and more that's being added on. Is there a way to improve that process?
Maybe talk about surface areas.
So the Roseville change order that was on this meeting. So Karen's Engineering was the one that wrote the initial scope of work for the repairs. But there were a lot of subsurface repairs that once we got behind the exterior, those needed to be addressed as well. So that was there were just hidden issues that nobody could have foreseen.
It's more, they do their best to the walkthrough, not expecting what they're gonna find underneath. When they do that second inspection, that's when they realize.
Once they open up the wall, they see there's additional issues that weren't expected.
I guess in looking at it as we go forward, I don't think we've ever had a bid that was the bid that was supposed to be. So expecting that as far as what change requests and different allowances or thresholds that.
Well, the green lawn paint job went through without any change orders. The two that had change orders recently was Academy Row, and that was because of those stucco benches that they had a lot more repairs that needed to be done that they couldn't tell until they actually got into the benches. And Roseville, again, once you got into it, there were more repairs that they couldn't anticipate.
Open RFPs for the new webpage. So we're putting all of the RFPs on there that we're sending out. What's on there right now?
Any that will be issued.
When did that start?
That started 2 months,
Or a month ago.
a month ago.
It's not, yeah.
How is it working so far?
It helped with the pointing vendors for the Long Meadow Turf RFP.
How are we broadcasting it?
Pardon?
How are we broadcasting the, like, are we, when we go and like solicit vendors, like, are we pushing that URL out? Something like, where are they finding that?
So we've pushed, we email vendors and we call vendors as well. And when we call them, we say, please go to the Celebration website and you can look at the RFP to see if you're interested. And if you want a copy of it emailed to you, we will email it to you. Otherwise, we also, if they're vendors that we know existing, we will email them the RFP separately and copy.
So then they'll need to check there too, but for.
Anything else for management? Yes, Eric.
So just a question in regards to My Celebration FL app. There's items that are being closed before they're complete. And I know it's items that we maybe are waiting for a part on, or we're waiting for something to be fixed. But like, for example, there's lights out in Artisan Park Amphitheater. They got closed because they said it's on the task list to be done. But in my opinion, that should still remain open until it's actually fixed, even if that means it's going to take us 2 months to get the land.
Yeah, I thought there was a status of assigned, but it could be when it gets to, it needs to go to, and then completion should be when the actual job's done.
It's open, in progress, closed, or work done.
Yeah, so I'm the one that I'm being dealing with the tickets, and everything that is being closed is because I confirmed that it's being repaired. The amphitheater is being fixed, and we replaced it, we're underwater. We put it, we have a picture with everything fixed already. That's what I'm closing. I'm the only one closing because I don't want that issue.
If you did that, you did it in like a day, so.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
so,
what it is.
Yeah.
It changes.
so
now.
I think that that's good.
And one per, we have now.
That's only me. I'm the only one closing. If it's not done that
That's
I
nice.
I went.
Yeah, that is.
It's in progress.
Which I guess along your
I'm fine with
process,
that.
are you
Yeah.
going out to the site to confirm it's done, or are they taking pictures, sending it to you?
Exactly. Some of them, they get the picture when I see that it's done. Some of them I've been doing it myself. So I know that I did it and it's working. I take pictures of before and after, then I come closing everything myself. So
You have my,
A buck
you have my
stops.
birdhouse?
Yes. Yeah, I don't care how it's done, as long as we know who's
Okay.
responsible.
Okay, all right.
We got it.
Someone's got my birdhouse.
Yeah, we got it.
Oh, thank God. Pick that up.
And by the way, Peggy's got staff looking at the permit.
Excellent.
How about the timeline for the election?
So I think a copy was in your board packet, but this follows kind of your standard timeline, but just so it's out there, and if the board wants to make any changes. I know we talk about the candidate forum and the meet and greet each year since I've started to see if we want to make any tweaks. December, the call for candidate postcard will be mailed out. The election page will be posted to the website, including the candidacy form, and the standard article in the magazine regarding the call for candidates will go out. January 6th is the candidacy form deadline. Then I will meet with the potential candidates, kind of do the high level overboard of what it is to serve on the board. For those that want to attend, we're proposing a candidate forum on January 29th. January 31st, ballots would be mailed out. February 3rd, the polls will open. The article in the magazine with all the candidate information would be in the February magazine. And then we're proposing a candidate meet and greet in February, like we did last year. And then March 4th, the polls would close. Those would be counted and new directors announced. March 5th will be your annual meeting. And March 7th would be the org meeting.
There are only 2 seats,
2 seats this time.
Yes.
so this is
That-
incorrect.
That one is incorrect. So yeah, 2 seats for 3-year terms.
Then it shows the candidate.
Is that normal? Is that normal that it's open for a whole month?
Yes.
It is.
But it's
It's
always,
way too long.
yeah.
I agree.
Why change it?
Well, if we need to change that, let's put that in our change election thing in the same.
But that's in the charter, right?
I think it
But
has
if-
to do with the mailing out ballots, and some of our residents are international.
It's time for him to get them back.
Okay.
Well, whatever 720, what's the minimum 720 requires?
Thought it
It was
was,
like 10 days, but.
Actually, I think all this comes to, in my opinion, I wish we'd have another charter review coming up, because I think this annual election thing should also be looked at. It's 2030, too many elections.
Yeah.
One every year is just ridiculous.
One thing that I I have a sneaking suspicion is going to come up in this year's election cycle is candidates that are part of an LLC.
So yeah, we check that every year for all the candidates that apply. And then if they are part of the home is owned by an LLC or the home is owned by a trust, then that entity has to designate the candidate as their representative to CROA.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, anything else on the election?
Last comment on this, and I'll share with you guys and with the community too, is that I will not be seeking election in the next one. Commitment is a lot. I know you guys live through it and everything, but just the commitment and time I can give to it, I can't promise that to the community going forward. So I will finish my term through February and work as hard as I can during that time, but as far as beyond that, I can't.
Anybody else who works for the bank? Wants to? Thank you. How about the refurbishment timeline for the park?
Refurbishment.
I don't know what that's about.
That's, I think that.
Part of the larger project.
We're looking at Ryan to kind of see what parts should be.
What order they should be in.
But that might be more of a workshop conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
How about CROA or own laptops for art committee members?
So the Architectural Review Committee has approached me as the liaison to request that they be issued CROA-owned laptops for review. The argument is the the ARC members are reviewing applications on a weekly basis. And there have been some challenges at some of the recent meetings where they're all trying to vote on the same system and different operating systems, different versions. People can't connect to the Wi-Fi. And there is a desire to have a standard piece of equipment that everyone would have to be able to move forward. So I said I would bring it forward to the board for discussion. So
we would be talking about a laptop for every member
that's
of ours.
I would say that I understand the request, but I don't feel that that is something that is necessary.
So one hybrid approach that I know that we've done in the past has been if a machine needs to be made available to someone on a committee, it could be made available at 851 or wherever we happen to be at.
Absolutely.
Is there something specific regarding why they need laptops? Is it PC? Is it Mac? Is it a firewall with frame manners?
No, I think the biggest issue has been some of the equipment that folks have is aged. I am
When you say that's personal use though.
It's personal use,
Okay.
yes. And I think that I'm hoping that the transition to smart webs will mitigate some of that.
That it'll be more compatible with the older.
It'll be
OS.
less resource intensive
Okay.
is pretty much.
But I guess-
what-
I love the idea.
When you take a job, part of it is like having high-speed internet, having a reliable computer, and I'm not trying to draw a parallel to the volunteer role in a career, but I mean, I would say we probably need to reinforce that on the application for ARC. That you
Yeah, I was gonna
need- you need
say,
to cover
that's
this
required
stuff.
in their prerequisite.
All of the
You
committees
can bring
really
that
are
to
using
the-
that. Yeah.
And I think if they have an old machine, they can come down to 851 and use it.
I do think that's a good hybrid approach. Yeah.
We're gonna be having to.
I just can't imagine if we roll that to all committees,
It's not now,
100 laptops at any point.
but maybe we could have a lender laptop.
Yes.
Yeah.
So regarding a lender laptop idea or anything, our current IT director who's on the call, if you want to, has identified a large issue on a lot of our laptops are currently out of their phase of life. My example has a 60-minute battery with no microphone, and that says the GM where they get worse. So his concern was if anything on adding supply, we're already out of IT funds and we don't have the technology for the current team.
Could we provide one laptop available at town hall to use at town hall if they were to come in?
Yeah, we
To
could
use that?
Sit in the,
Yeah.
the chair in the corner.
What I propose is we'd be start a phasing process of the team's laptops and then use kind of retire one of these to that type of.
Well, however you guys do that.
Because your dead battery one can be plugged into a wall.
Yes.
Yeah, we're establishing a technology replacement program to phase out end of life. So you'll see in the budgets moving forward, just
And-
an annual replacement cost for existing
And
equipment, because
Would
it's
that be
not,
Part of reserve advisors for replacement,
no, they don't qualify as a reserve item.
and so the technology or,
It's a huge expense. It's a huge expense, yeah.
yeah, I would think, like, every 5 years, laptops and things again.
Yeah, so, I mean-
Replacement, so you're never aging everything out, it's.
No, it's
something.
a phased approach. So some of us have newer laptops and some of us have older laptops. We just phased out the last of the towers last year, which are finally gone.
So to this point, how did you get the newer laptops? It's just one-off, so. we need-
One-offs in the operating budget,
Think-
which is usually where a technology replacement program lives, is in your operating
So then
budget.
that's where I think you need to have a proper budget of, if it's 5,000, 10,000.
Yeah, and that-
This is turning over that thing, just like you do our vehicles.
That is somewhat built into that is somewhat built in your operating budget already as part of the technology cost. But I'm just saying, we have a formalized plan moving forward in terms of, we've got asset management tracking with all of these, so you'll see just these ones this year, these 5 are up for replacement.
We're being organized.
It's being organized and methodical about
And is this a CJC? Like,
half of them.
like your laptop, is all under CJC?
And so,
Today. Well,
yeah,
Don't start that.
yes, half
Save
of
that
them
for
are
January.
CJC, half of them would be CROA.
Yes, there'll be budgets in both,
Budgets and
budget lines in both budgets.
So, and I don't have the final budget number because he's still figuring out the TRP plan.
And you're not just buying these on like Amazon, you're getting like you're going through like a supplier, I assume for like first pricing.
Phasing the Lenovo's out to Dell because Dell has a maintenance piece to it and a warranty piece.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm just joining. Yes, we moved to Dell, but I'm going to move us back to Lenovo in the sense that we have a better small business plan where they'll provide us better pricing, better warranty. I've gotten our warranty down for like 3 years. That will supply accidental damages as well for only $80 for 3 years straight. So that'll give us a life cycle of say 3 to 5 years on an average. So as we go along, we can have on-site support from Lenovo within a day's period to get them replaced and fixed. So I will be putting out standardizations as the time goes by, so that we can all have, everything will be identical. Support costs by me dealing with day-to-day support will drop down to as much minimum as possible, where we can help modernize things for the community instead of just sitting trying to fix computers every day because they're out of warranty or out of end of life where we can't just do anything with them. But we will look into that for your our committee members to have something available for them, and just to understand if we are going to use this out of hours, will we need to start supporting ARC members who are going to go to the building eventually, 851, to use those computers and say something goes wrong or they're unable to use it or they're having issues with something on that computer? Will we need to start extending the support for it?
I would recommend that we review this after, and I'll get the temperature check from the committee after the launch of Smart Webs to see if we're still having some of these same challenges.
Good idea. Good plan.
Okay.
Performance metrics.
A quick one, I just put it on, I shared that email with everyone, didn't get responses from everyone, but if you can, as president, send that over to Stacy, they look at it, and then at the workshop, we would hopefully knock out any last final pieces, to then from.
Once you get responses, if there's any changes, just send me the thing and I'll send it to Stacy. Or do you just want it as is?
You can send it as is.
I can send it as-
Make sure there's any changes we need to make. So it's more of let Grand Manners
Let them know.
digest it, see if they're in agreement, if there's changes. In the workshop, we talk about it. And ideally, that contract would be signed December. Okay.
All right, any board comments? Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Right, thank you all so much. 8 o'clock.